Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Notes to Self. My name is Melanie.
And I'm Cory, her husband.
And we were both born and raised in a polygamous church here in Utah called the Apostolic United Brethren, or the AUB, which is a polygamous church here in northern Utah, the largest one in North America. And I was raised with 4 mothers, 34 brothers and sisters.
And my dad had 9 wives and 39 children, all on a compound up in Pinestone, Montana.
Yep. And my dad is the current leader of the AUB. So we have a topic today that we kind of wanted to discuss, maybe taking a little bit deeper look into some of the doctrine that was taught to the AUB people, and wondering if this is maybe some of Robyn Brown's thinking as she decided to marry into the Brown family. One of the things that we wanted to remind everybody, though, is to do your healing work. If you have not started healing, now is a great time to get that started. Your family deserves to be loved deeper. You deserve to be loved deeper. And there is so many different healing opportunities out there. So find one that works for you and get started on that as soon as possible. Okay, so this episode, we have been mulling this around and chatting about this and trying to decide. We thought we would just make a quick video about it. There is a creator on TikTok who presented the idea, and we have really been looking into it. She is great. Her name is Dragonfly. If anyone wants to go to YouTube or TikTok and follow her, she had some really good ideas about the AUB and women being put out to pasture. And so one of the ideas that she had that we have been mulling over is, did Robyn Sullivan go into the Brown family with a misconception of what her role and what her position would have been in the Brown family? Is this maybe what brought on some of her entitlement and made her feel so entitled to the position of head wife or queen wife? So in the AUB, not necessarily just the AUB, but a lot of these different religions, once you are not of childbearing age, quite often your husband will, and you've heard the terminology, will put that wife out to pasture, where she's no longer sexually active with him. He's no longer sexually active with her because she's no longer producing or bearing children. So when Robyn Brown joined the Brown family, did she do so under the guise that she would be the only child-producing wife and that the rest of his wives would be put out to pasture? Christine had made it perfectly clear that Truly was going to be her last child. Mary couldn't have children at that point anymore. Janelle's youngest was choosing not to. Janelle's youngest was Savannah, who was 5, I believe.
Yeah.
And so did Robyn join the family thinking that she's now going to be the only child producing wife. So she's the only one with an intimate relationship at that point with Cody. Now, you've heard the sister wives say on the show that the AUB does not, that they allow their members to have intimacy even if they're not producing children. And that's not always entirely true. That has not always been true my whole life. I was always taught that you were to be intimate if you were going to be producing children. And that's really it. Other than that,
well, if you wanted to get into the highest,
most righteous children,
if you wanted to have the most righteous children and get into the highest degree of glory, that you would only have sexual relationships to create those children. And so you've got 2 different teachings within the AUB, very conservative teachings, which was that, and a more liberal teaching of, hey, we're not going to get involved with matters within your bedroom. You guys get to choose what you want to do, but if you choose to have sex with your partner and aren't producing, your children won't be as righteous as ours, is kind of the thinking and thought patterns in there. So there was still a level of shame.
Yeah.
You might still get into heaven if you got those wives and did everything, but you might not have as righteous of a seed. They probably wouldn't stay, those kids wouldn't stay around or be as righteous as they could be if you abstained from sex. So.
Right. And this was taught both directions. So we've said this on our channel a lot, that the rules change a lot and it depends on who the current prophet is.
Mm-hmm.
So the prophet at the time when Robyn did marry Cody was very adamant and very much preached over the pulpit that
Very
you were
conservative.
not to have intimate relationships with a wife who was not of childbearing age or was not trying to conceive. And he was extremely, this was something that was very, very strict in his mind. This is what he preached. Now, it loosened up. The prophet before him really didn't want to get in people's bedrooms. He didn't want to tell the congregations what to do, didn't want to, my dad, who is the leader now, has said the same thing. It's none of our business what happens in a bedroom. That's between a husband and a wife. So you are taught these things that, hey, if you want the most righteous children, only be procreating, only be intimate for procreation, and that's it. Now, if you are just willy-nilly out there having intimacy with your wife in the backseat of a convertible somewhere, or even your girlfriend for that matter, who knows?
Wow,
then
you're with the jokes today.
then that could even affect your current children that you have, because now you have brought in a spirit,
sin and lust,
into your relationship. So question, did Robyn Brown come into the Brown family? Because we've all noticed, she has a lot, what feels like entitlement. She speaks Cody. She, knows Cody better than the rest of them. So was that her idea when she came into the Brown family, of knowing that she would be the only wife with an intimate relationship with Cody, being that that's what the prophet at the time was strictly teaching. So it's curious to me, because then you've got Christine, we're reading her book right now, and you've got Christine going, I didn't know that's what being in love looked like. And I saw Cody being in love with Robyn, and I wanted some of that. I wanted him to be in love with me. So now you've got these other wives who we were taught you have intimate relationships in your garments or your church underwear, that were part of the whole process, because now you create the most spiritually righteous children under the most spiritually righteous circumstances. So you're physically ready there. So
it usually doesn't lead to an orgasm on the woman's side. So probably not.
But it is curious to me if this is maybe where some of her entitlement came from, is that she was sold this bill of sale of, hey, yeah, you're going to be my only childbearing wife. You and I can be intimate all the time. And I'll just put these other wives out to pasture, which we saw him do with Christine. And she was not shy about it on the show, where maybe Mary and Janelle didn't talk about it so much.
Yeah.
Until way later down the road, when Mary's like, yeah, we haven't even touched each other in 10 years.
Yeah. And I feel like that if she got that promise, she got it from Cody. She didn't talk to the other three wives, and you guys are okay being put out to pasture and just letting me take care of the customer
needs, our best customers'
needs. But I don't think she had that conversation, and she might have been pushing that narrative.
Yeah.
Well, the prophet says, and I'm still willing to give you children so we can continue to practice, but you need to slow it down with the other ladies type thing. So yeah, she didn't talk to the older three wives, and I don't think the older three wives were coming in to try to show the best part of polygamy.
Yeah.
And they didn't want to have the dark side or the negatively looked upon side of polygamy, where the wives do get put out to pasture when they're past childbearing age. And then the husband usually stays and helps raise the youngest kids with the youngest wife. So, which
is sad, because Truly is only a year older than Solomon, or a year and a half older than Solomon. So Christine still did have small children, and so did Janelle. Savannah's not that old. But if this is what Robyn believed she was going into the family and representing, I can see where she would have a level of entitlement, like, hey, wait a minute, I'm the only one satisfying him in this particular area, because Christine's made it perfectly clear. Truly's her last child. She does not want any more children after that. And Janelle has too with Savannah. So
I think she, if anything, she probably fed that conservative thought into Cody's mind of, hey, you need to push them aside. They're not wanting to have children. You shouldn't be sinning in our righteous family. If you have that sin within our righteous, do what I say, not what we've already done in our backseat of our convertible. So,
well, and that's the thing is,
allegedly.
I found it kind of interesting that Christine has said this multiple times. We are watching Sister Guys for the very first time, and already we've noticed that she has said this multiple times. The AUB does not put women out to pasture like that. That's not true. It does happen. It's individual men. And at the time, the prophet who we grew up with, he was the prophet for 30 something years before he passed. He didn't want to be involved in people's bedrooms. You do whatever you do. So it was an individual man who decided if he was going to have intimate relations with his wives or if he was going to put them out to pasture, so to say. And so all of a sudden this new prophet comes in and he is very much preaching this over the pulpit. And he was the prophet, what did we say, 9 years? 9 years before he passed.
2005 to 14.
2005 to 2014. So he was the prophet when Robyn married Cody. And so I'm curious if there's any level of truth to this. Because I know I've watched my dad not have relations with certain wives because they were too old. I've also watched him have I haven't watched him, but I also know of him having relations with younger wives. And so I think it's very much an individual, although,
family agreement.
Yeah, family agreement. But that's what's so hard about the dynamics of polygamy is because one person can come in and say, we're not doing that anymore. I don't think that's right. And then change the dynamics in the entire family. And they can use fear, shame, and guilt and coercion in order to do that. And is that did Cody make a promise to Robyn that, hey, you're going to be my only childbearing wife. We're going to do a ton of practicing. Or did she come in with that assumption that she would be the only childbearing wife? So
more like their assumption.
Yeah, I'm wondering if that's what it was. And then she eventually got Cody on board. And so then you can see his and Christine's relationship start to separate. And he tells her he was never physically attracted to her. Now, I do know a lot of men who use this as an excuse not to have intimacy with certain wives. And I feel like that's what Cody did in this situation.
Well, they're coming out on TV saying, hey, we're the liberal, these are the liberal, nice versions. We're Christian. And then you see some of the behind the scenes of the conservative, and Christine wasn't going to have anything to do with it.
Yeah.
So Mary was okay still being a part of the family and trying to win his affection, love,
even if she wasn't intimate with him.
Yeah. Trying to put on the good show. But at a certain point, Christine's like, yeah, okay, if it's changing, if these are the new rules, then you're out, and started to move. And that's why he was stunned. But he was putting in some of his old conservative, the newer laws of, okay, I'm not being intimate with you anymore because we're not having children anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go over to Robyn's and work that intimacy part out and have children and raise them. And then another thing that I wanted to kind of mention here is usually the husband is supposed to stay with the wives that have the young kids to help raise them. But in the book, and then with Logan, you see that there are certain sons that are the man of the house that were going to handle that kind of work. And so I feel like he would almost feel justified. He didn't want to go over to Mary's. So he feels justified. Well, I've got older boys in Janelle's house.
It can be the man.
Yeah, it can be the man. So, but I need to be here to raise Robyn's children. So he's justifying himself to be able to be there and spend most of the time there because the rest of the families are being taken care of.
But not Christine's, because Peyton was Christine's only boy, and he's what, 3 kids in, so he's not really a man. But a lot of men do this.
He shows out,
where they're like, oh, you know what? He's got it handled. My oldest son has it handled. And we've all seen Logan. At least we just started season 4 and we've seen how parentified Logan is. We haven't seen it as much with Aspen yet, but we know it's coming because we've seen a couple of the other clips. And I think this is one of the reasons I agree with you why Cody was so stunned when Christine moved his stuff out of her house, because if they had not been on television and she had not been able to see some of the things that Cody said about Robyn, some of the things Robyn said about Cody, and they were just regular people in the AUB, she would be put out to pasture and she would stay there. Yeah. And she might go to the leadership, complain that he is not treating her fairly, but then he would go to the leadership and just say, well, she's no longer of childbearing years. We're not trying to have children. So therefore I'm justified. And the leadership would take his side.
Especially the leadership at that time.
Exactly.
His side on it.
Yep. So then he's stunned because any other polygamous family, this is acceptable. This is what happens. These women are dried up and dried out and put on a shelf somewhere. And Christine is young. She's only 40, in her early mid 40s at this point. And she's probably just coming into her sexual prime at this point. And she's over here going, wait a second, I'm watching you be lovey-dovey and have intimacy with someone else. I want to feel that too. But in the church, he would be 100% justified, and the church leadership would back him up, and she wouldn't be able to get a release.
They probably would have given her a Relief Society role.
Yeah, something to keep her busy.
Just keep her busy.
Keep her mind off of what was happening. Yeah. And that's true. She would be issued
or something.
Right. So I know dozens of women who have literally not been intimate with their husband in 20 years.
I'm not saying that everybody in the Relief Society role has been put out to pasture there, but
she would be getting something to keep her mind preoccupied and to serve the kingdom of God, or to serve the church exactly in a way that could keep her
busy and satisfied.
Exactly, busy and satisfied to the extent that she knew what that even meant. I mean, she says in her book it was years before she even had an orgasm with Cody. Yep. So
and then they're also talking about she probably would have went and talked to some of the older ladies in there and asked how to do it, and they'd have guided her through the process of finding something to do that's
to preoccupy
your mind, so you don't worry about him over there in the young ladies' bedchambers. So.
And this is very, unfortunately, very common. And I think the Browns just were exposed to each other on the couch interviews. They were exposed to filming that they would not normally have been able to film, and not normally be privy to certain conversations that they were privy to because the cameras were there. Yep. That's why. And so I think it's interesting too. It's frustrating sometimes when I hear them on TV say, we don't do underage marriages. Yes, I do. I was a week into 17 when I got married, which is not technically considered underage in Utah. But I was still 8 days into 17 when I got married, and that they don't put wives out to pasture, because they do. And what was the other one? That there was not child abuse or sexual abuse in the AUB, because there is a ton. And a huge portion of leadership over the last 20 years has gone to prison for that. Not just the local people in the community, the leadership has gone to prison for that. Yeah. So I get frustrated with the sister wives when they're on TV saying, we don't do that. That's not us. That is to us. That was us. She was a part of that. And when she says her grandpa in one part of the book, she says that was them, not us. I think that was the name of the chapter. Her grandfather, who started the AUB, married a 15-year-old when he was 39. So it does happen. And not that we're here to just pick apart the AUB like that, but if you really stop and wonder, is this what Robyn was coming into the family, assuming a role that she thought she was assuming, which would make her basically the queen wife? You know, you could see Mary was the favorite wife before Robyn came in. And was Robyn coming in and assuming this position because she had every reason to believe that she had, based on the current teachings of the AUB?
And she just didn't think she was going to get as much of a fight. And I think running into the women, they're like, whoa, they're just not going to listen to their priesthood head and
do what they're told.
So
it's because
then they had to do manipulation. Then she had to start
coercion and manipulation
because they weren't listening to their priesthood head.
Yep. So, and it's because they were getting exposure to the real world. They were getting more exposure to what
honesty,
real people go through.
What every one of them are honestly thinking and going, what? Okay, then I'm going to be honest too. So, and started to let out more of the deep secrets of the AUB than the AUB wanted. So,
yep. And I mean, in my first marriage, I only had intimate relations in the very beginning with my garments on. It was to produce children. I mean, I was married for 10 years and I could probably say we were intimate a dozen times. And so we just really just did not, it was every 6 months, maybe, because I didn't want children anymore. I had my first two, boom, boom. I had one at 17, one at 19. And then I went, whoa, I don't want any more children. And because I didn't want any more children, I mean, I was a child trying to grow up myself. Then we just were not intimate because I didn't want any more children. So if Robyn went into the Brown family, assuming that this would be her position, I can understand why she had so much entitlement, why she appears on camera to be so entitled, like, look what I'm doing for this family. I'm bringing more children in here. And of course I'll surrogate for Mary. That's just all the more practice I get. No,
it's not how they do it, but yeah.
I understand. But so tell us what you guys think. And get that creator a follow. Her name is Dragonfly. She's on TikTok. I don't believe she's on YouTube. But I really love her perspective on a lot of stuff. And when she brought that up, it really, like, what the heck? That is a great point to consider, because that would really, really define why Robyn came into this family feeling so entitled and feeling like she just was instantly moving into the queen bee position of these wives who had been with this man for 20 something years. So, yeah. Anything else?
They kept a lot of secrets from the other wives too. So there was probably a promise Cody made to Robyn and just forgot to tell the other wives that they were going to be getting.
By the way, this is going to affect you too.
Yeah, but we'll making promises to Robyn to get her to come in here, be a part of the family.
Right.
She had so many choices. Everybody wanted her here in the AUB. So.
Yeah, she was young.
Lots of people probably would have down here in Salt Lake, but down Salt Lake.
Yeah. Well, because she was young. And I mean, doesn't Cody have like 12 years on her? 10 or 12 years? So probably. Yeah, he's gotta woo her somehow. And so he's gonna woo her with the promise that she'd be his only wife, or his only intimately active wife. I don't know.
She worked it out. And here's the thing, the only irritation that she has is she was hoping that those three wives would just go out to pasture,
roll over and just call it a day.
Keep putting money into the family fund so that they could raise their younger children. And most of them in the AUB do that. So
it's true.
And so
they don't put up a stink.
Yeah. And so this was her savings account dropped by 3/4. So that sucks. Or her banking account. So
let us know what you guys think in the comments. I know that this is more a little bit of teaching of AUB doctrine that we were taught. So, but let us know if you think that might be why Robyn comes off as entitled as she does, or maybe she was sold an expectation that Cody failed to deliver, so she made sure he had to deliver it. I don't know. It's kind of curious to think about. I'd love to pick her brain on it. and see what she thinks. I'd love to hear what any of the other sister wives about it thought. So go ahead, give us a like and a subscribe and share if you enjoy our content. Thank you so much. Guys.